Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I forgot that. I usually always open up my lives in the same way because I do think it's so super cool that regardless of where we are in this world today and regardless of the time zone, we can all come together in one place and have at one time and have amazing conversation here on LinkedIn. And today we're here on the LinkedIn Top Voice or Voices Unite now. Sorry for the stutter there because the name has changed, right? If you recall in the past, it was the Blue TV. It's now Top Voices Unite, and super excited to be here as a guest, actually, not even really as a every week host any longer, but here with the amazing Cory Warfield. So excited to have you, Cory. Hey.
Hey, I'm missing a board meeting because it wasn't on my calendar, but I would never miss a chance to show up with Denise. So I'm very happy to be here, although I wasn't prepared. So I haven't done my hair or anything like that, but I'll just show up as my authentic self.
That's all we want anyway. And nonetheless, we're excited to have you. And I appreciate the nice compliment. It's always fun to be on with Cory. Cory is like one of my heroes. There's a lot to share there. So I don't know that we necessarily have time for that. But just as an FYI, first off, we want to know, as part of the audience out there, who's out there listening, whether you're team live or team replay, be sure to let us know where you're dialing in from, where you're watching us. We'll share where we are. I am, and we've got Ireland, which is, I am almost certain that's Anna Rooney. So welcome, Anna Rooney, because it does say LinkedIn user. Love having her. She's always so super supportive. But I am here in Houston, Texas, and Cory actually lives in two different places sometimes. So where are you calling in from today, Cory?
I'm home in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, but at points in my life, Houston, Texas has also been home. So shout out Woodlands, shout out Katy, shout out Kingwood, shout out the Galleria area. I used to live at Westheimer and Gessner as well, back when there was an old San Francisco steakhouse across the street that I ran. So H-Town in the house, but yeah, I'm about half the world away in sunny Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Awesome. Well, we are excited. Today, we're going to talk about really how to foster inbound leads here on LinkedIn. And, we all talk about, how do we leverage, or our questions seem to always be, how do we leverage LinkedIn in a way that we can start generating opportunities? And so, the master is here, Cory. If you don't know anything about him, I'm going to really let him share a little bit about himself and why he is so amazing on this platform. And then that will really segue us into a little bit more about the topic. And that's really about, how do you attract leads? How do you nurture prospects without being salesies? Salesies? Salesy. Sorry. And how do we turn conversations into real opportunities? But before I pass it on, Cory, just a quick, intro to who I am. Denise Murtha Bachmann, as you can see in my name title there. I am here in Houston, as I mentioned earlier, but I am all things sales. But more important, it's how do you, yes, adopt and adapt to AI technologies, but how do you inject the human back into the process, which totally aligns with our subject today. So, Cory, if you'll take it over, introduce yourself, and then that'll be a great segue into our conversation topic.
Sure. Well, thank you. So I started a software company about a decade ago after spending nearly 20 years in restaurants. And so as a CEO of a company, and we raised some money and we got some PR, and ultimately we got fairly large. But in order for me to grow the company as a founding CEO with no experience, I needed to learn how to do sales. And at some point early in the journey, I thought that I was terrible at sales because I had just spent 20 years as a waiter and a bartender where I never had to convince anybody that they should eat food or drink. Right? If somebody came to my bar, they wanted to drink. I just needed to figure out how much they wanted to spend on it and what flavors they preferred. Right? If someone sat in my table, they were in my section. I didn't need to convince them to order something, and I didn't necessarily, even need to convince them to order something that I wanted them to. They're not going to order the A5 Kobe if they don't want to spend $200 on a piece of beef.
Yeah.
So, right, let's let them order the chicken and have some lemon water, whatever the case was, right? So I thought I'm terrible at sales because I don't know how to convince people they need something. Right? People come to me once they already need something. But I did learn LinkedIn and inside and out. I learned the algorithm. I learned the psychology. I got in with some of the biggest influencers on the platform at the time. And so these years later, obviously, some of the numbers are easy to see, but I've got pushing 600,000 followers. I've got over 200,000 subscribers. I've done close to 1 billion impressions on the platform. That's generated millions of dollars for myself and over $4 billion for my community of people that I've coached, right? So LinkedIn and I have kind of developed this relationship and this understanding. And just today, I got an email from their development team that they fixed a bug that's been 3 months in the workings because I brought it to their attention. So LinkedIn and I really have this symbiotic relationship. But what I realized about getting leads and getting sales on LinkedIn was that almost everybody was doing it wrong. When I say almost everybody, at any level, at any company, in any industry, in any place in the world, and people complain and they say LinkedIn doesn't work, or I can't get leads on LinkedIn, and okay, I realized that they either were sending, pitches, and we all talk about the pitch slap and all that, but it will just never work. It's antithetical to the psychology of the platform. But what I realized that many more people were doing wrong, and probably almost everybody that's tuned into this is probably still doing wrong, is
Yeah.
sending connection requests to people that you don't know, right? And people, well, how would I connect with someone if I don't send them a connection request? Now will I know somebody if I don't? Well, no. If you send a connection request to someone who doesn't know who you are, you're literally asking a stranger for a favor. And not only is it needy, it's a position of weakness, but it's also even just, the ones and zeros are you're asking a stranger for a favor. That's never a power perspective. And if they accept you into their network, they've done you a favor. And even worse, the favor that they did you is they allowed you to be part of their network, right? Some of the words that you should be hearing, allowed. They allowed you. They could have not, right? That's the favorite part. It's their network. It's not yours. You're now in their network, right? So from there, it doesn't matter if you send them a great message and say, hey, your recent post made me laugh, or your banner sounds really great, or any message other than I want to hire you and pay you full price is an unwelcome message, because you're already the stranger that came to them for a favor and they did it for you, and now you're part of their network, and really now you want something else. So that to me is what I see almost everybody doing and doing wrong, and it never works. And so people say, well, how do I change that? And the answer is very simple. Instead of asking them for a favor, you do them a favor, right? So how do you do that? And you can do this for any prospect, right? You can search by title, you can search by industry, you can search by company, you can search by who they know that knows you, or keywords that they're using in their content. But so you just find people and you go to their profile, and instead of sending them a connection request saying, will you please be my friend, you follow them. Right. No big deal, but you just did them a favor. Everybody wants more followers on LinkedIn. I have 579,000 followers and I still want more followers. If you're watching this and you're not following me, I'll sound like the YouTuber.
Hit the follow
Smash
button.
that. Yeah, smash that button. Right.
Mhm.
But that's the reality, right? Is do them that small favor to send them a follow. They may or may not ever see that. That's okay. But you've now done them a favor. Now do them another one. Go to their contents and see if they're posting. If they are, like their post.
Yep.
That's a nice favor, right? All of a sudden, this amazing guy, Cory, just followed me and he just liked my post. Everyone that posts wants more likes on their posts. I've probably got 60,000 likes on my post so far this year. I still would love a 600 or 60,000th and first, right? Everybody loves likes. So be that person, give them a like.
Yep.
Well, now you've done them two favors. Now, here's the big one, comment on their post, right? It's a third favor, but it now not only gets you in front of them and their audience, but it gets the beginning of your headline in front of them and their audience, right? And so this is why the beginning of your headline is so important, and it should say something that should resonate with the right people. Some people should see that and go, wow, that sounds cool. Well, let's take it a step further. It's not enough to just comment. You can't say, well, that's a pretty good post, Eric, but what I have found, and then start preaching and teaching, right? Nobody on LinkedIn is there to learn anything specific, and nobody on LinkedIn is there to learn anything specific, right? That we're all here to sell or to get some type of accomplishment, but really we're here to network. And so
Yep.
you show up and you say, "Hey, Eric, that post was great, right? That's some great food for thought, or great to see someone like yourself championing that concept, or The fact that you're talking about what's real and what's not in the post AI world is something we really need more of on this platform. I'm really glad to see that here, right? Don't make it about yourself. You don't need to prove that you deserve a seat at the table, right? Just be supportive. That's a huge favor. But now you've done them 3 favors. And okay, great. But if your headline resonates, they now see this nice kind comment from this person named Denise or from Karina or from Cory, right? And they see the headline. They go, okay, that sounds kind of cool. And if it doesn't, then you need to change your headline, right? Because your headline should probably make you sound like you do something pretty cool, right? That people would care about. But if it does, then they're going to go to your profile, right? 100% of the time, no. Strong percent of the time, yes, of
Yes.
course, right? Why wouldn't they? And when they do, what are they going to do? Well, they'll see the rest of your headline, they'll see your banner, maybe they'll see your follower count. If they care, they might scroll down your about section or something like this. But they're also going to send you a connection request, right? Why wouldn't they? You've compelled them enough to get them to your profile, and your profile can't suck. So as long as it doesn't, they're going to send you a connection request. But now you'll understand the comedy and the irony. They're asking you for a favor, right? You just did them 3 favors. You just followed them. You just liked their comment or their post. You just commented on it and shared some really kind words about them. But now here's the beautiful thing. When they send you the connection request, you get to send your version of this message. You get to say, hey, Eric, your post earlier was great. And I was glad to see you reach out because you wanted to connect and become part of my network. Right? Remind them, you reached out to me. You wanted to be part of my network. You're part of my network now. Right? Keep that personal touch so they don't feel like you're copy and pasting or it's some autonomous agent from a CRM. But let them know I'm glad you wanted to be connected to me. And then here's the hook, line, and sinker. So you probably wanted to connect because because of what it is that I do. Right? I message people and say you probably wanted to connect with me because of the work I do creating LinkedIn influencers and filling pipelines. If that's the case, I'm happy to discuss how it works and what it costs. With Denise, you probably reached out because you want to increase your sales this year and fill your pipeline, right? And so because you've done them all these favors and they came to you, this no longer comes across as a pitch. It comes across as a compliment. You're treating them like they're smart enough to have wanted to connect with you. What they don't realize is that you just did that with 20 other people that day and they're all prospects, and the right person's going to read your message, go, my God, where have you been my whole life?
Yep.
How much does it cost? Where do I send the money?
Well, you know what? So just as an FYI, for those out there that are listening, and we've got quite a few, I don't know that I can pronounce everyone's name, but Sayer Wath from Cambodia. So sorry. Sohab Hassan. So he says hi to Cory. I think it says it's awesome to catch Cory live. So glad that you're out there as well. We've got Chenny out there, but and Anna, as I mentioned earlier. But and welcome to anyone else. So be sure to leave comments where you're from, engage with us, ask us questions. I mean, you've got someone amazing like Cory here. But I don't think that when I no longer really own the Blue or the Top Voices Unite Live. It's really being driven by Nikki Estes and her team, Chenny, and everyone else. I don't think they even realized, Cory, when they put us together, how powerful this was, because all these things that Cory preaches, and he doesn't actually really preach, the things that he's sharing today are what I actually do, because I am a student of Cory's officially. I'm in his community. What was super cool was last year, a couple of months prior. So I think in January or February, we were together live. I'd known him for a couple of years. We were together live because we were speaking at an event. We both had just received the Top Voice Blue badge, and we were speaking, and I thought, I need to figure out how to leverage what I have just achieved and how to maximize it. And I realized I needed to hire Cory. All these things he shares right now are all things that I've adopted, that all of us in his community adopted, and we have seen immense growth. Now, mine has been a little bit less than some of the others in the group because I am a salesperson. And so I'm really careful about not trying to be too salesy, right? And I kind of I don't use all of the techniques that Cory mentions, because I also, part of being here on LinkedIn is staying true to yourself and finding that comfort and that truth, and allowing yourself to really excel in those areas. But what he teaches, what he shares, what he experiences, this is a man who spent hours and hours and hours here on LinkedIn to learn these things to share with us. And so I don't think the women really understood the power of bringing us together, because I can attest to all the things that Cory is sharing because I do them myself. Yeah. So anyway, but we're glad to have you here, Cory. So the few things that I've gotten out of this thus far that I want to kind of summarize back for those that are just now joining us, or maybe watching us on team replay, is that it's all about really doing for others rather than for others doing for us, right? Meaning that we want to be sure that we are doing things that want them to feel as though they want to be a part of our network, that they want to engage with us. And it's in simplest forms, it's, not really trying to connect with everyone out there. Following them, engaging in their content, letting them know that you're out there and that you're interested in what they're doing. They'll want to come to you and want to connect with you. And then it allows you an opportunity. And I actually use this message. I change it up every single day. But for those that ask to join, I'm like, hey, I am so thrilled that we are connected and that you reached out to do so. I'm guessing it has something to do with my sales content. I have a ton of resources and tips under my posts section. But if there's anything you need, any questions you want to get answered that'll help you improve your sales, I'm here. Just reach out to me. And if not, it's okay. I look forward to getting to know you throughout your, by reading your content or something to that nature, right? It changes a bit every time, and it works.
Which is perfect.
It works. It is super engaging. But the other thing that I really love that you teach, and that, as I bring on new clients, I don't spend a lot of time talking about LinkedIn because that's not really my area of expertise. That's Cory, right? But when we talk about just LinkedIn in general from a high level, I always talk about something that I learned directly from Cory, which is the law of reciprocity. Now, while I know that already, I've always known that, but who really practiced it the way, I didn't. I never, we get so caught up in our everyday activities. We don't really think about, it's not always top of mind, the law of reciprocity, but it works. Cory, do you want to expand a little bit about what the law of reciprocity means or should mean to us here on LinkedIn?
Yeah, well, I think, very, very generally put, it's just kind of what you put in is what you get out. But so people often wonder, how do I get more recommendations? And sure, you can ask people for recommendations. Again, that's a position of weakness and of lack, and you're asking for a favor. Or you can just leave glowing reviews of people, recommendations that you've worked with them or you've got to know them over time, or they do something that complements what you do or that's not competitive, or maybe even they do something similarly to yourself in a different way, right? And write them a recommendation. And there's a good chance they're going to write one back for you. And again, not every single one will, and that's okay. You kind of start to learn who might and who might not, right? But again, when you give without expectation, there's just so much that can come back to you. And, as a good book says, it can even come back tenfold. So that's a very easy example. Another one that's just as easy is skills, endorsing skills, right? How do you get 99 plus and people endorse you for these skills? Well, I'd probably endorse 99 people as well, right? Maybe
Yeah.
even a couple more. I don't keep tabs. But so those just little things where when you do for others, they're inclined to do for you. They almost want to do for you. And there's a guy named Chris Salem that he and I spoke at a LinkedIn Live just before COVID-19 in New Jersey at the Orange County Choppers motorcycle shop. And he said something that I found quite profound. He finished the quote that many have heard, which is, do for others without expectation. But then he finished it and said, but the other side of that is to also receive without resistance. Right. And it's great to let people do things for you that want to and let them have that same satisfaction that you get when you do for others. So, putting yourself out there as someone that people want to share your content. People want to drop a comment and say that you're amazing or amazing to work with, or that your widget or your book or your course or your talk or whatever is high impact. And so that's that's really what it means to me, is just doing, the golden rule on social media, I guess would be the other way to say law of reciprocity.
Yep. And I can attest to, again, everything that Cory talks about, I can attest to, but sometimes I will say it doesn't always come back exactly the way you gave it out. Like you mentioned, they may not give you a glowing review after you've done that for them, but it will come back to you in some other ways. Out of the blue, you'll have someone else who gives you a review. I don't know why I'm struggling today. A review that you hadn't even anticipated, right? But I want to go back to, you had said one of the problems that we all are probably even doing something as simple as connecting wrong. But I'll never forget when you and I were speaking for the first time just about LinkedIn, when we were live together, we had just gotten the blue badge, both of us, the Top Voice blue badge. And I knew that something I had done had been right. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been deemed a top voice. But what I didn't know was what that was. And, Cory said, well, I will tell you that it's probably based on your content, but looking at what you're doing, even though you got the top voice, what I find is you've got a ton of activity and you're doing a lot of stuff, but you have no strategy around it. That to me was actually a pivotal moment, not just for LinkedIn, but for everything in my life. Because what I realized that we tend to do is have a list of to-dos. Even in LinkedIn, I've got to make sure I comment on this person's, or, you've got tabs open where you can go and make sure you check out whose content has been generated, right? However you navigate your friends or your prospects that you want to engage with, right? You got a list of those to do. You got to check your followers, or you've got to make sure you look at your network and have you accepted everyone that's connected, and you've got to generate content for today, and you got to make so many comments a day, right? We have some of those things, but unless you know what your strategy is around it, all of that work effort is for none. And that holds true in anything that you do. And that for me was such a pivotal moment, as I mentioned already, because it wasn't just about creating a strategy for LinkedIn, but creating a strategy for my clients. And not meaning, for each individual client, I knew how to do that already, but it was, okay, if I want this many clients, how am I going to get there, right? And how many people do I need to engage with, right? And now, I've always been good at building sales plans, but now that has become my zone of genius, right? Sitting down and creating strategies, sales and marketing strategies for teams to execute on. And it was all because of this entire conversation centered around strategy. So I have to thank you personally for that, Cory. But the other is, maybe let's talk about a few moments what strategy means to you specifically here on LinkedIn.
So for me, it's absolutely everything. It's, my post today mentions a company doing cool things, but a strategy for that I've cultivated over the years is, when a company that I think is awesome, whether or not they're paying me, gets a post from me and it goes viral, there will be owners and executives at 50 other companies that see that, and they realize, wait, if he did a post about us, we could get 100,000 views, we could get 1,000 likes, we could get it shared, by 100 different people. And then when they go through and see kind of, who's engaging and what they have to say, there's this further validation. Or when they go to my profile and see all the recommendations about how my content and coaching has changed lives and business trajectories, it kind of sells itself, right? So they come to me and they want to pay me to do a post about that, or they want to send me some free product, or they want to talk about hiring me to coach one of their executives. So that's a very dialed in strategy. But another thing about my strategy, I'll tie it to my headline and then to my featured section, is I like to prove, without having to educate or take time to try to earn any confidence. I like to prove that I under promise and over deliver. So my headline says, how do I have over 500,000 followers here? My thought is that a lot of people see that and think it's bullshit, right? They either don't think that I do, or they think I have 501,000 followers, and tomorrow I'm going to update it and say, how do I have over 502,000, right? And so it's kind of this thing too, that people are a little bit intrigued by, well, how does he have over 500,000? And if they have never heard of me before, hey, this guy has over 500,000 followers, what does that mean? But then when they go to my profile, what they're going to see is that I've got 570,000 followers, or 580,000 followers, or however many it is. And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was understating it, right? I mean, they could say, how do I have almost 600,000? But no, I really want people to be blown away. And I wanted to be able to actually be a little bit more validating. So another example, and this one is just vanity metrics, but if you go to my about my featured posts, the first one might have something like 10 or 20,000 likes. And I want people to see that and go, oh, well, of course, you put this post with 10,000 likes as the first one, right? And I don't mind them judging me for that, because if they swipe to the next one, I think it's got 20,000 or 50,000 likes, right? And then wait, he has one of 50,000 likes and it wasn't the first one. I want to show that I'm not just putting that there for no reason, and I'm not just being braggadocious, and I'm not a one trick pony, right? And then if they scroll to the next one, I think it probably has 100,000 likes, right? And so it's like it's almost like a reverse Russian doll, where it keeps getting bigger and bigger. Like, well, wow, right? There's actually a lot here. It's not just this one little trinket, or this one little piece of vanity metrics, right? Anyway, it also says, how do I have over 100 recommendations? I want people to go, yeah, right. And then they scroll down, it's probably 110 or 120, right? So again, for me, it's all strategic. By the time people have seen enough of those, they go, okay, we get it. This guy delivers par excellence. This guy isn't all smoke and mirrors. He's not just a braggart, right? Um, but there are posts of mine. I've done posts about companies that have raised a bunch of money that their executive has no presence, and I want to coach them. And I charge a lot for my coaching. So of course, like, if I want to coach somebody and then I coach them, then it's that's a good day for my personal business. And so I will feature them or their company in a post, just so that they realize
They
that they
realize,
want
yeah.
more of that. Right. Oh wow. Right. So there's everything I do, there's an intended outcome to it. And obviously in sales, no one bats 1,000%, just like no one bats 1,000% in the major leagues. But it's the more opportunities you put yourself in front of like that to win, and then it becomes a numbers game, right? I'm reaching a couple million people a week on LinkedIn. So at that point, you'll convert a couple out of 2 million or 3 million, no matter what it is that you're doing or selling, as long as there's nothing, off-putting about it. So that's kind of my strategy, is both micro and macro.
And I want to first be respectful of everyone's time. We really only have a couple of minutes left. And Cory, I know, broke away from a board meeting, so we want to let him go back to that meeting. But I do want to just make sure that before you leave, I think one of the most important things is your headline, right? I mean, there are the activities that we should be doing, but I didn't realize how important the headline was until I worked with Cory. And look, the reality is your headline is a work in progress, right? You want to get it the best that you possibly can the first time around, but you can always change it up. And heck, it's kind of fun to change it up. Like, it starts to become really exciting. I mean, the first time Cory and I worked on my headline, it was like, I mean, it took us a couple of weeks, and now I just randomly change it every now and then to just test something new, right? It makes it a little bit of fun and exciting all at the same time. But I would say, to get away from this, I'm a sales professional, I'm an advisor, I'm a go-to-market strategist, or what all of those different titles are. Get away from that and share with them what working with you will do for them. And remember that it's what is it, the first 8 or 12 words are the only ones they see when you comment. So those should be the most compelling, so that it makes them want to come see your profile and get the rest of it. See, look, I learned. All right, look, I know that Natasha had some questions. So Natasha, I know I'll come back to you if Cory has a chance. He'll come back and we'll respond to you in the comments. I see Joseph Kings is out there for the first time. Nikki is out there. Top Voices Unite and Market Me More are both out there, who are sponsors and owners of this show. I want to thank everyone for having been here. As we start to end this conversation, I really want Cory to leave one of his lasting thoughts that you can take away with. But I think, Emma, summarize before I send that over, you should have gotten a lot of valuable information that you can take away today, which is this: how you engage with others is really truly important for generating leads and opportunities. And it's really about making them kind of almost supporting them in a way like that they've got to come back and thank you for supporting them by following them, by commenting on their content, right? Think about how you engage with someone so that you are doing them favors, so that they are super excited to be a part of your network and want to talk to you. The other is your headline's super important. So make sure that you go and start to evaluate how you've written your headline. And then the other is the law of reciprocity, right? We've covered a lot of other things, but what you do for others, it will come back to you. If you need specific help on how to do this better, how to execute on this, Cory's your guy. If you're not following him, make sure you do that immediately. And then just DM him, have a conversation with him, look to him to coach you and be a part of an amazing community that I am a part of as well, that I adore and love. So I want to thank everyone for being here, at least from me. Those were my takeaways. Cory, if you could leave your takeaway as well, that'd be great.
Well, those are a great encapsulation. So I'll end the way I've now ended hundreds of streams and podcasts, which is just we can all, myself included, love more. That means we can love ourselves more, our customers more, our enemies more. We can love our shortcomings more. We can love our things more. That's okay as well, right? I mean, we can love, we can just love more and put that into the world, and that makes the world a more loving place. So I appreciate everyone for taking the time. I appreciate Nikki and Top Voices Unite, Market Me More, and Denise. Thank you as always. You're the best today, non-host, but you're an amazing presence. You're an amazing person, and I always have fun when we show up together.
Thank you. And if you don't connect, if you're not connected with either one of us, do that right away. Go check out Top Voices Unite, Market Me More. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us directly, whether that's LinkedIn or sales related. They're here, Top Voices Unite. This show is here every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Central Time. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you all for being here. And Cory, a special thanks to you. And I wish everyone the best of the best weekends coming up. And I don't know why I'm struggling to talk today, but thank you guys.